And chat? How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Root Double Before Crime After Days, where we have kidnapped Ukita and are currently viewing his memories. And thus, Ukita had gained a comrade named Watase. The two of them worked on the plan together. What they most hated were Rokame City and Labo, so they planned to deal a fatal blow to them by saving the test subjects. It was an extremely dangerous plan, but with Watase's help, it looked like it might just work. The structure of the plan was as follows. First, Ukita would detonate incendiary explosives inside Labo, then take that chance to save the test subjects with Watase and his comrades. Yes, we've established that in the whole Watase flashback sequence. Multiple times. Ukita decided he'd use an ultrasonic wave detonator to detonate the bombs while watching the explosions from the monitors in the surveillance room. Furthermore, the PA wasn't limited to facility-wide broadcasts, but could also selectively choose which areas to broadcast to. If he used that feature to his advantage, then it was in theory possible to make the bombs go off only in places without people. Ultrasonic waves could not be heard by the human ear, so he didn't have to worry about someone realizing what was going on. He also prepared various kinds of sound data to cause the detonations, for both timed and instant explosions. By loading the data onto his PDA, Ukita could detonate the bombs in the facility whenever he wanted. Unfortunately, not gay. This game is full of straight people. And nothing else. The plan then proceeded smoothly. Then, one day, a year later, Ukita was casually playing a game of chess in the surveillance room with the security guard. Checkmate, huh? Looks like losing that piece at the start really did cost me the game. Well, that's foreshadowing for stuff we've seen 70 hours ago. Up for another round? No, I may have a crappy job, but I need to get back to it now or I'll be in trouble. We'll have to save that rematch for another time. Then I'd really appreciate it if you could bring some of that coffee next time you drop by. Me and the rest of the boys here think it tastes great. I'm glad to hear that. Guess that's the one good thing you can say about me, huh? These games and conversations were also a part of his plan. Ukita then left the surveillance room and happened to come across Dr. Tenkawa. Mr. Ukita, what are you doing in a place like this? Dr. Tenkawa? Ukita felt surprised, but he managed to compose himself and replied with a normal look on his face. Oh, just loafing around with this security guard I know. I have a lot more time to kill these days, you see. I see. Though that said, I've wasted a bit too much time. I'd better be getting back to work, if you'll excuse me. Ukita then quickly tried to leave. However... Wait, Mr. Ukita. Has he been caught? Huh? I received an inquiry from Security Sector 6 yesterday. They wanted to know why I had you taken off the team. And what did you tell them? Security Sector 6. He wasn't familiar with that name, but it was most likely a division of Rokame City's security department. So what did you tell them? Nothing. Just that I took you off the team because you didn't have the aptitude or the ability for it, that's all. Huh? What's that mean? Why did the professor lie for me? Impossible. Could it be that deep down she has her misgivings about the current state of Labo? Ukita rose one more question to Dr. Tenkawa in order to confirm that. It's raised in this context. Ukita raised one more question. Then could you perhaps answer the question that you left unanswered that day? What do you plan on doing if Natsuhiko's powers manifest? Dr. Tenkawa grew quiet, much like she had that one day, and then she spoke up in a faint voice. I'll incarcerate him. What? How can you call yourself his mother after saying that? Well, she is kind of a shitty mom. Dr. Tenkawa glared at Ukita when she heard that question and raised her voice. How can I call myself his mother? You don't even begin to understand. I love my son. There's nothing else in the world I treasure more than him. But Rokume City, Labo, and my research are all required for him to keep on living a peaceful life. That's why I'm... The professor bit her lip resentfully when she said that, almost as if she were trying to convince herself it were true. Could they be using Natsuhiko as a sort of hostage against her? If that were true, then Ukita's plan would most likely end up saving Dr. Tenkawa as well. No, that's what Ukita hoped for. I apologize for asking you such a bizarre question again. I know it's late for me to be saying this, but I am grateful for you covering for me. Our ways of thinking may differ, but you really are an amazing person. Mr. Ukita? You know, Dr. Tenkawa, if it were ever possible, I wish that we could work together once again. With those words, Ukita left. He could tell Dr. Tenkawa was still looking at him, but he ignored her. If possible, huh? But in the end, it's just a dream that will never come true. Ukita had learned the truth about Labo. I've gone too far to turn back now, Professor. But an unexpected change happened on his way home that day. Ukita noticed suspicious-looking cars following his. Have those cars been tailing me the whole time? They kept on sticking to his tail even after he'd slowed down. Could they be from that Security Sector 6 thing the professor spoke of? Ukita's phone suddenly rang at that thought. Ukita felt his heart leap out of his chest at the abrupt sound of a ringtone. He frantically shifted his car into ADS mode and picked up his PDA. Hello? The voice that came out of the other line was the man from Q's. It seems that you're being watched. How did you know that? We have collaborators, even inside the security department. They could more or less tell from the way that those guys are acting. Anyway, your car could have bugs in it, so choose your responses carefully. Try to make it sound like you're having a normal conversation. All right? I'll make this very quick. It is very bad that they have you under surveillance, considering you're the core of the plan. But it seems the boys at the security department are still having trouble deciding which end of the gray zone you're on. Gray zone? So we'd like you to be a victim of our terrorism in order to throw their eyes off of you. Ah, is that why he crashed? Huh? We will commence diversionary tactics in various places all over Rokume City, starting tomorrow, to improve the plan's chances for success. By getting you caught up in one of them, we can trick those people into thinking you're just a virtuous citizen. There will be some danger involved, but do you understand? That's understood. Well, I'll manage somehow. It didn't change the fact that he was in a dangerous situation either way. Then I'll send the details to your PDA. There's a chance there are bugs and surveillance cameras in your home as well, so check it outside. The man hung up with those words. Ukita checked the rearview mirror to find his pursuers apparently still on his trail. For this hardship to show up now of all times. This is getting a little juicy. Ukita gripped the handle tightly and glared into the rearview mirror. A few days later, the plan to pass off Ukita as a victim was put into action. His car had its ADS and brakes sabotaged and was crashed on purpose. Ukita had figured that his problems with the people watching him would be solved when it was passed off as an act by Q, but I never thought they'd go this far. He hadn't expected in the slightest that he'd get stuck in the car with its whole frame bent out of shape. To make matters worse, that wasn't all. Shivers ran up Ukita's spine when he caught a whiff of the unpleasant odor coming from outside. The smell is Gasoline? Oh, no. If he burned to death in what was supposed to have been a diversionary tactic, it would be one of the most ridiculous screw-ups in history. But his body was so hurt that he couldn't even twitch the way he wanted. There was no escape. This isn't good. If I don't get out of here, then I'll die for real. At that moment, get away from there, Mashiro. There's gasoline. The voice that echoed in his brain was familiar to him. Ukita was later safely extracted from the car by the rescue team that had rushed to the scene. But Ukita was at a loss for words when he learned that Natsuhiko was the one responsible for that telepathy. Yep, the crash from all the way back in Route B. Don't tell me that Natsuhiko's BC abilities manifested because of me. Horrified at the thought, Ukita spoke to Natsuhiko. Listen closely, you two. This is important. Strange things might start happening around you from now on. Hopefully, I'm just being a little paranoid. No, I probably am. That was both a warning for Natsuhiko and an admonition for himself. If his plan failed, then not only would Labo and Rokume City's wrongdoings remain in the darkness, but Natsuhiko would also likely be incarcerated. I must do whatever it takes to make the plan succeed. Ukita swore that. Q's diversion tactics continued over the next few days. Thanks to that, all surveillance on Ukita had finally dropped. However, his heart ached when he heard that the diversion tactics involved causing severe property damage, such as arsons and the bombing of the PRC. Is this all really necessary for the success of the plan? Though he was conflicted, he knew the die had already been cast. It does recontextualize the crash in a good way. Then, on September 15th, one day before the plan was to be carried out, an unexpected accident occurred. Natsuhiko and his friends had predicted Q's terrorist plot. Oh no! We just caught one of those terrorists. Ukita shuddered when he heard Natsuhiko say that. I never expected some of the people I'm trying to help would pose an obstacle to the plan. Oh, did Ukita tattle on Natsuhiko and send Watase and his buddies to tie him up? Ukita hid how shaken up he felt as he promised Natsuhiko and his friends that he'd ensure Labo's security was beefed up, then left for the time being. This is bad. This is very bad. If I don't stop them, the plan will... Ukita called Watase on his PDA as he drove his car. Hello? Captain Kasasagi? Sorry, but there's an emergency. Ukita explained the circumstances to Watase, who then replied in a hard voice. Silence them, huh? Not like we've got a choice. You're telling us to kill children? Don't go that far. Just threaten them and tie them up. Captain Kasasagi, please. I don't like the idea of this any better than you do, but it's for those kids' good too. Ukita then hung up. He waited for Watase's call in Labo's parking lot. It didn't take long for his PDA to ring. We took care of them. You didn't harm them, did you? Relax, we did exactly as you said. Choked one of them out, though. I don't want to hurt kids either, you know. I see. It seemed Watase truly was a man who could place his trust in. On the other hand, Q's people are just... Is it just me, or was it like they were just looking for an excuse to blow up the PRC out of simple revenge? If they look at communicators with hostility, then I must do whatever it takes to protect the test subjects. It was with that thought that Ukita continued talking to Watase. Say, Captain Kasasagi, I have a favor to ask you. What's that? Can you promise me again that you won't kill anyone, no matter what happens? Yeah, I swear I won't. My sister's life was stolen because of Rokome City's twisted ambitions, so I'll never stoop to their level. I see. Thank you. Ukita hung up, then stared at the gargantuan mammoth that was Labo. D-Day had finally come. The day of reckoning had finally arrived. September 16th, 5:30 a.m. Once Ukita confirmed that the hallway he was observing was unpopulated, he sprang into action. He opened the door to find that the security guards on standby were all out cold in a deep sleep. What caused that? This had all been due to the powerful sleeping agent Ukita had mixed into their coffee half an hour ago. Ah, okay, that makes sense. That was the setup for him befriending them. Looks like losing all those games of chess was worth it after all. Ukita allowed himself a small chuckle at that, then went to the engine room to bring the sprinkler system offline. Then at 6:19... Wait, hang on. Hang on, isn't the engine room in Area 5? Isn't the engine room in Area 5? And his map. Ah, no, it's in Area 3. Wait, no. Area 4. Okay, well, it's not in Area 5. Wait. Is this the current location of... Ah, okay. Labo engine room is in Area 3. Okay. Then, at 6:19 a.m., Ukita returned to the surveillance room, then immediately checked the monitors to confirm no one was in Area 1's inner ring. Okay then, let's begin. He muttered that to persuade himself, then turned on the PA to Area 1's inner ring. Next, he took out his PDA and played the immediate detonation sound file. The ultrasonic waves then played over the PA. Wait, can the PA generate the ultrasonic waves? I'm not sure it can. The explosions and shock waves from Area 1's inner ring faintly reached the surveillance room. Next order of business is Areas 2 and 3. Okay, no one's around the bombs. Now. He then detonated the bombs one after another, causing Labo's automatic PA to start broadcasting. A fire has broken out in B1, Area 2. A fire has broken out in B2, Area 3. A fire has broken out in B1, Area 5. Security has shifted to evacuation mode. All gates, barring those leading to Area N, have been opened. All personnel, please calmly evacuate to the surface levels. Perfect. The warning system is active. It should be sending a dispatch request to Sirius right about now. I have to evacuate the rest of the staff while they're on their way here. Ukita adopted a tone of desperation as he spoke into the facility's PA. This is an emergency broadcast. Explosions of unknown origin have just occurred within the facility. Bald-faced lie. From our current understanding of the situation, explosions occurred simultaneously in 10 different locations inside the facility. Fires have broken out as a result. Researchers Araguchi and Kashiwagi, please come to Area 2 post-haste. I wish to consult the two of you about taking out top-secret data. Well, that's nakedly obvious. With the pieces for the plan now all in place, he stopped broadcasting for the time being. By then, a great clamor of people desperately running for their lives had already begun, even right outside the surveillance room. Ukita opened the door and looked outside, then called to some nearby staffers. Please help! The security guards in here are unconscious. Take them outside. Okay, but what about you? I'll stay here and lead the evacuation. Don't worry about me, and just get out of here. Ukita then ran on over to the control room. There were still many researchers in there. Ukita had learned a while back that they were using the WX particle amplifier this morning to conduct some sort of experiment. He shouted at the group of people there, still manning their posts. "What are you people doing? Hurry up and get out of here!" But the amplifier is still online. Brain Cell will automatically take care of shutting it off if you leave it alone, right? And even in the event that fails, you can still turn it off from the remote control room on the surface level. Just hurry up and get out of here. If you die, it'll all be for nothing. Right. And with that shout, the researchers all scrambled out of the room. Good, now's my chance. Now that he had cleared the room of people, Ukita walked up to Brain Cell's control panel. He checked the monitor to find out that the WX particle amplifier was apparently maintaining a steady output of 500 MSV. If left on its own, those levels would automatically decrease. But Ukita swiftly operated the control panel and raised its output to maximum. Is how it's supposed to say. The particle readings then gradually began to rise. 501 MSV, 502 MSV, 504 MSV. Good, this should soon render the amplifier out of control. It truly was a device that required the utmost attention to operate. It easily went haywire when the output was intentionally set to maximum. It's do or die from here on out. Ukita ran out of the control room. He then returned to the surveillance room to find that the security guards were gone. All that remained was a security card someone had dropped. Ukita picked it up and continued his acts of destruction as he made further broadcasts. Excuse me. The clamor soon grew faint, and eventually he could no longer spot anyone on the monitors. Ukita quickly picked up the receiver of the ringing extension phone. "Hello, this is the surveillance room." "Oh, so someone's still there?" "This is the surface floor surveillance room. I hate to cut to the chase, but who are you?" According to the roll call, 3 staff members are still in the basement. Eraguchi, Kashiwagi, and Ukita. Understood. I will find those 2 post-haste and have them evacuate. Ukita shouted that, then hung up the phone. Don't be suspicious. Eraguchi and Kashiwagi were the 2 researchers Ukita had summoned over the PA earlier. Yes, I remember. It was like a minute and a half ago that you called that. According to the listing he checked beforehand, both of them had the authority to enter Area 0. It was likely that Watase and his co-workers had already arrived and caught them at this point. Once Ukita had determined that, he turned back to the PA's mic and spoke. According to the roll call on the ground floor, evacuation of all staff members has been confirmed. In the unlikely event that anyone besides staff members has been left behind, please escape through Areas 5 and 6 immediately. He made that broadcast as a sign for Watase and his co-workers, just to be safe. But he wouldn't waste time waiting for them to arrive. He went on over to the control room and checked on the current status of the amplifier. The levels in Area N were at 2315 MSV. The value was rising at a good pace. Brain Cell had begun efforts to perform an emergency shutdown on the amplifier, but it was too late. The monitor showed that the shutdown and the dampening of the particles were scheduled to finish at 1816. About 11 hours left to go. Good, everything's gone perfectly up to this point. And when he went back to the surveillance room, Watase and his co-workers quickly showed up, carrying the unconscious high-ranked researchers with them. We'll head on down to Area 0 and rescue the test subjects. I'll stay here and keep an eye out to make sure nothing unexpected happens. Watase nodded, then proceeded to run out of the room with Dojima and Hiyama. But then they didn't come back when expected. A case N hadn't been declared yet either. They're taking too long. What's keeping them? I thought I made it clear to them they'd be in real danger once the particle levels exceeded 4000 MSV. But his thoughts were immediately interrupted by the sudden, nigh-deafening ringing of a siren. A Case N has just been detected. In accordance with this emergency, security has shifted to blockade mode, locking down all gates and bulkheads. Ukita checked the time in surprise to find that Watase and his co-workers were 20 minutes behind schedule. Did they make it in time? Ukita detonated the rest of the bombs while thinking that he'd check Watase and his co-workers afterwards to see if they were okay. Some of the bombs failed to detonate, but he had expected a few duds. And right as Ukita administered the AD he had prepared beforehand, Watase and his co-workers returned. "You're late. Did something happen to you three?" "No, we're okay for now, but..." "Really?" Watase replied to Ukita's concerned question with distaste. "I said we're okay, didn't I? More importantly, we're in big trouble. There was only one test subject in Area 0. "What?" Watase then proceeded to explain the situation. Subject Y2 was nowhere to be found. Ukita then realized the two high-ranked researchers were missing. He asked about their fates, and was met with an unbelievable answer. The rescue workers killed them in Area 0? Ukita started flaring up at Watase before he even knew what he was doing. "Captain Kasasagi, this isn't what you promised. You told me there'd be no casualties, remember?" "Hold on. Calm down, Mr. Ukita. You said you wouldn't hurt anyone, right? Was that a lie? If you're saying it was, then the three of you must..." Ukita instinctively tried to grab Watase, but at that moment, he was struck in the back of the head. "Why?" He could still make out Watase's voice as his consciousness faded. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ukita. It's too late for us to turn back." Watase had said us, but it didn't seem like he was including Ukita when he said that. Have I been betrayed? Yeah, no wonder he was so suspicious of Watase for the entirety of Route A. Ukita lost consciousness as if he were drowning in a sea of his own dismay. He had no idea how long he'd been out for. Ugh. What happened to me? That's right. Captain Kasasagi knocked me out. When he came to his senses, he realized that the security card around his neck and the one he had in his pocket were both gone. Watase from Ukita's POV. I'm just a little amnesiac birthday boy, uwu. Where did they go? Ukita proceeded to check the surveillance monitors to get a grasp of the current situation. But most of the cameras had been damaged as a result of the explosions, so they weren't very helpful. Damn it, where the hell did they all go? Did they leave me behind? It can't be. Were they planning on making me their scapegoat from the very start? Ukita's heart still harbored the desire to trust in Watase. But the fact that Watase's team had killed 2 men and knocked him unconscious created a powerful sense of ambivalence in him. Forget that. First, I just need to do whatever I can for now. He had to erase all evidence that he had participated in this attack in the chance he was caught. It was with that thought that he began deleting the security footage. But a short while later, he discovered some most stunning footage. This is... Ukita frantically paused the video. This is impossible. Why were they... Natsuhiko and his friends were right there in the security footage. The image was a bit fuzzy as a result of the explosions, but there was no doubt as to who these 3 were. Ukita felt his pulse skyrocket in shock. It can't be. Did they go directly to Labo after last night? Meaning they got caught up in our terrorist attack. Ukita had set off the bombs a few hours ago in places where people weren't around. But he'd been so busy that he hadn't even checked the monitors thoroughly enough to see who was on them. It was for that reason he hadn't noticed Natsuhiko and his friends. This is bad. This is bad. This is bad. If they weren't able to get out of here, then it's all my fault. No question about it. But just as Ukita thought that, he heard voices from outside. Hey, is someone in there? What? That voice. Is that you, Captain Kasasagi? What? You know who I am? How could I not know you? He opened the door to find none other than Watase standing there. But it wasn't just him. Accompanying him were 2 rescue workers and 2 other women Ukita had never seen before. I'm Anna Tsubakiyama. I'm a high school teacher who was called to this facility. Yeah, why? I'm Yuri. I'm family to one of Labo's researchers. Ukita looked at their presence with suspicious eyes. Something is not right here. No matter the circumstances, only staff members are supposed to be allowed in Labo. Everyone else is forbidden. No, but more importantly, that Yuri girl. Could she be Subject Y too? But the one Ukita was most confused about was Watase. He had apparently gotten some form of memory impairment and couldn't even remember Ukita. What in the world is going on? Is it a lie he cooked up on the spot when he came across his other subordinates that weren't supposed to be down here? But even if that is the case, then what happened to Dojima and Hiyama? What about Subject N? Where did they all go? Ukita was confused by the series of unexpected events. But when he saw Subject Y2 in front of him, and remembered that Natsuhiko and his friends could still be trapped down in the basement, Ukita regained his composure. That's right, I must calm down and remember why everything I did today was necessary. He didn't know what was going on. Perhaps Watase and his co-workers had betrayed him. But all of Ukita's actions on that day were for the sake of saving the test subjects and Natsuhiko. So as long as I don't allow my conviction to be shaken, I should be able to get them out of Labo. A fire began blazing in Ukita's heart, much like the one from that rainy day so long ago. And with that, Ukita and the others began to move. Alright. Time for a Rude A flashback. Probably an extended one. Alright, let's see. Their goal was to find the survivors, AD, and an escape route. Just then, a floral scent drifted in from somewhere. Aha! The scent! This is it. Mr. Ukita's memories were distorted after this point. Natsuhiko's consciousness tensed up at that moment. Yuri's voice echoed in his head. Hikarin, look for that floral scent in the memories past this part. Yes! I know! We explained this when we were going through Watase's memories. Look for that floral scent in the memories past this part. Yeah. Then try to remember what happened after this point. Remember how Mr. Ukita felt. His memories should be repaired to their proper form depending on your feelings. Excuse me. Once you've done that, you can return him back to normal. Natsuhiko fortified his determination and began memory access once again. His search criterion: floral-scented memories. Ah, only 4. Okay. Alright, when he discovers the room with 3 corpses, Ukita's doubts surrounding Watase explode. As he goes with Watase towards the sprinkler system, Ukita suddenly tries to confirm whether or not Watase really lost his memories. Right when he sees Enna starting up computers in Labo, Dr. Tenkawa's words echo through Ukita's head. All in the morning. Okay. Clearly, everyone in this game has memory loss, for so often they need recaps. Yeah. Alright, let's start. The memory started when Ukita and the others had discovered the 3 corpses. Dojima was lying dead in the room. To make matters worse, the jackhammer he and the others had prepared for their escape was broken. What in the world happened here in Labo while I was unconscious? Ukita's team left the room and soon spotted Watase's team, who had been searching the outer ring, running towards them. The rescue workers then entered the room, and the moment Watase came out, Ukita instinctively grabbed him. Hey, Captain Kasasagi, what in the world happened here? What? 3 people are dead, and even the jackhammer's broken. You know something, don't you? Answer me! Just talk already! The broken jackhammer meant that escaping through the pipe as planned was no longer an option. Okay, what are my options here? Okay, so remind me. I can go through these as many times as I want until I get it correct. One sec. Where's my second? Oh, okay. Well, that's weird. Okay. You get a bad end if even one memory isn't fixed correctly. Okay. Well, I did just save. Do I want to guess and then ask for the answer, or do I want to just try? I need to decide how many times I want to replay through this segment. Well, I guess I'll try on my own for the first attempt. See if I get the bad ending. And then ask for the answers on my second attempt. Okay. Well, let's raise everybody to max. The broken jackhammer meant that escaping through the pipe as planned was no longer an option. Perhaps Watase, Dojima, and Hiyama had prepared a different escape route, or perhaps they had been planning to escape when the lockdown lifted at 6:16 p.m. In the first place, is it really just a coincidence that the jackhammer broke? Or did someone break it intentionally? Ukita glared at Watase with those thoughts. Watase scowled at Ukita. Huh? The hell if I know. Anyway, why are you freaking out so much, old man? We're feeling down here because we lost one of our squad mates. And yet your response is to choke me? What the hell's your problem? Nautiko repaired that false memory. No, how could I know anything? Then who else would know? But Subject Y2 stopped Ukita before he could shout that. Don't panic. People died there, right? If something like that happens again... sorry. To think I, of all people, would lose my composure like that. Ukita then started persuading himself. That's right. Calm down. Calm down and assess the situation. Their search of Labo then continued, the events of what had transpired in that room remaining a total mystery. Okay, I think that's correct. Alright, as he goes with Watase towards the sprinkler system, Ukita suddenly tries to confirm whether or not Watase really lost his memories. And I'll bet Subject N's false memory is confirming that Watase did not. The memory was of after Ukita and the others had run through the gas and arrived at the engine room. Ukita and Watase headed deep into the room together to turn the sprinkler system back online. If Watase was faking his amnesia to fool the rest of the group, then it was about high time for him to reveal the truth. Ukita chose his next words carefully, making sure to only say things that the original Watase had known about the place. If memory serves me right, that large tank over there is full of water, nitrogen gas, and other fire-extinguishing agents. Nitrogen gas? Look at that innocent look on his face. Aw. What to say? Kazumi and June. Is it to just raise them high? Let's think about this. Trying to remember what was going on. Because it's been 60 hours since I was there. Okay. Let's see. So... my initial suspicion is just to raise everybody to max. My initial suspicion is just to raise everybody to max. Like I did with the previous one. What could be the downside of doing that? Let's think. So we've got to have Watase at max, because we want Ukita to trust Watase. Do we want to raise Kazumi and June high? I'm going to do it. Nitrogen gas? Pac-Man! There was no pretension whatsoever in Watase's reply. Impossible. Could his amnesia actually be for real? He asked Watase to be safe. Are you sure you don't remember anything? Such as why you went down to the basement, or the names of the people you were trying to save? Yeah. Really? What's with that question, old man? Huh? It feels like you're testing me or something. Is there something you want to say? Natsuhiko repaired that false memory. Nothing. Tachibana said my memories would return in time, but it seems it's taking a while. Ukita couldn't find anything suspicious in the way he'd said that. If I'm to believe Captain Kasasagi's words, then that means Miss Tachibana and Moribe must not doubt his amnesia at all either. That's why you raise them high, so he trusts them as well. If anyone were to notice something suspicious about the way Captain Kasasagi was acting, it'd be Miss Tachibana and Moribe. So does that mean that Captain Kasasagi really does have? It was at that point that Ukita finally decided to believe Watase had amnesia. But how did he get amnesia? Could someone have hit him on the head? If that's how it went, then the only one who could have possibly done that was... One name immediately came to mind. Was Hiyama behind all of this? They haven't found Hiyama's body yet. Right, it was at that point. Ukita's heart shuddered when he reached that conclusion. If Hiyama had in fact received different orders from Q, then... Well, that's... Interesting thought process, but it feels like they're throwing a red herring at me at the end of the... near the end of the story that is just kind of, like, laughable. Ukita couldn't help but pray that Subject N, who'd been taken away by Hiyama, was still safe. At any rate, Ukita turned the sprinkler system back online, then resumed the search with the rest of the group. Then, when they arrived at B2 of Area 4's outer ring... Listen to me, old man. We found Hiyama's body. What? Is that true? That sudden announcement left Ukita confused. But then who was it that killed Dojima and those two researchers? No, maybe it still was Hiyama. Perhaps he killed the three of them, but got injured in the process, then got caught in the fire afterwards? The more he thought about it, the less it made sense. Regardless, there was no way Ukita was giving up on his search for Subject N and Natsuhiko and his friends. Alright, that's 2. On to number 3. Right when he sees Enna starting up computers in Labo, Dr. Tenkawa's words echo through Ukita's head. It was a memory of when the group was searching Area 5. Ukita and June had gone on ahead of the others to the neuroscience laboratory to look for Enna. They found her starting up one of the computers in the room. Ooh. Industrial espionage. Words Ukita had once heard long ago flashed back through his mind at that moment. Curiosity killed the cat. It would be best for junior fellows to remember that phrase. Alright, I'm gonna save. Because I think I've done it correctly so far. Do I trust Enna? Okay, do I trust Enna here and make Ukita chill the hell out? Let's try it. Ukita turned to Enna and shouted at her right after that. Stop it, Mr. Bakiyama. What do you think you're doing? Well, there were all these machines I'd never seen before, so I just got curious. Aha, a likely story. Just get away from that computer right now. I'm telling you this for your own safety. Why? They conduct research related to national policy here. It'd be best to not recklessly go looking for information in this place. You will be in danger if you do otherwise. When he said that, a bewitching smile suddenly rose to Anna's face. Oh, so that's why. You really are worried about me, aren't you? Does she flirt with everyone? Well, I guess there's only 2 men in the group. I would love it if she flirted with June and Kazumi, too. You really are worried about me, aren't you? Huh? Oh, well, yes. You don't look all that reliable, but you've got some surprisingly good parts about you. Anna said that, then drew up close to Ukita. Yeah, she was just trying to take advantage of Watase in the ending where she kissed him. What are you doing? Oh, nothing really. Just thinking about how nice you are. Nice? Well, you know, being in this type of situation makes me want a man I can rely on, see? But Captain Kasasagi's a bit scary, so... True, Watase was like that, but... The thing is, I like serious men more than insensitive guys like him. Anna then touched Ukita's arm. An electrical current ran through Ukita's body at that moment. Is this really the time to be talking about this? And besides, Moribe is here too, you know. Oh my, looks like that little girl's gone off somewhere. Huh? June had left the room without him even noticing it. Now that the kids are gone, why don't we have a little chat? A little chat? We'll need teamwork to get out of here alive, yes? But I've been thinking that we're lacking in intimacy. Likelihood of her being a spy up by 109%? Yeah, absolutely a spy. So, you see what I'm getting at? I'd like to take the chance to get more intimate with you. But before Ukita could finish, the door behind him suddenly opened up. He turned around in surprise to see June, Watase, and the others standing there. June had probably called them over. Watase was glaring at Ukita. What the hell are you guys doing? Anna immediately separated herself from Ukita at that moment and spoke. Hell if I know. Mr. Ukita here got pissed off all of a sudden when I started fiddling around with these computers. Then he grabbed me by the arm and started lecturing me. What? Ukita felt a moment's astonishment run through him when he heard Anna's lie, but then Kazumi cut in. Mr. Ukita, could you explain the meaning of your actions? No. I was just telling her to be careful not to look at any top-secret information. The things contained from Area 5 onwards are about as top-secret as you can possibly get. I should not have trusted Anna. Even if we can make it out of here in one piece, I strongly suggest that you do not tell anyone on the outside about what you saw here. The consequences for doing so could prove unexpectedly dire. While he was giving his explanations, a pool of doubt welled up within Ukita. What is that woman's deal? What was she trying to achieve by talking that way to me earlier? Anna was totally calm at the moment, the complete opposite of the way she'd acted just minutes ago. As if she'd forgotten all about that. Does she seduce men so she can try to get them to do her bidding? Now that he looked over her carefully, Anna was quite a beautiful and glamorous woman. Perhaps she used her own body as bait to lure ordinary men. But why did she try to seduce me? However, in the end, Ukita never got a step closer to answering that question. I failed. Oh, nope, never mind, here it is. Natsuko thought to himself as he finished viewing that memory. It's not that I don't get where you're coming from, Mr. Ukita, but I doubt Professor Tsubakiyama is that kind of person. That said, looks like repairing this one is going to be a little tricky. I should probably readjust his feelings for Teach to a more natural level. And that was the state of Ukita's altered memories. Has this been enough to fix Mr. Ukita's memories? I don't think so. If you're unsure, then you can always go back through his memories and try repairing them again. You're right. Besides, it doesn't feel like this is the end of it either. Back when he'd erased Watase's malice, Subject N's spirit had still been in Watase's brain even after he'd repaired all his memories. Then it was highly probable that it was still in Ukita's brain as well. I have to erase her to bring Mr. Ukita back to normal. Natsuhiko steeled his resolve, then slipped away from that memory. Oh, wait. Hang on. Scene title Terabyte Disk. Okay. So it lets me go back into this one because I did it wrong. Adjust his feelings for Enna to a more natural level. So I'm guessing mid. Alright, Enna mid. Whoops. Okay. You will be in danger if you do otherwise. When he said that, a bewitching smile suddenly rose to Enna's face. Oh, so that's why. You really are worried about me, aren't you? Natsuhiko repaired that false memory. I'm sorry. Just then, Watase and the rest of the group came running in. Hey, what happened this time? Not good. It's too late for Subject Y2 and Captain Kasasagi, but if the other three come into contact with Labo's top-secret information, they'll... Ukita frantically warned the others about the top-secret information. The things contained from Area 5 onwards are about as top-secret as you can possibly get. Even if we can make it out of here in one piece, I strongly suggest that you do not tell anyone on the outside about what you saw here. The consequences for doing so could prove unexpectedly dire. Those words came straight from the bottom of Ukita's heart. Malice-corrupted memories have been purified! Alright. It was then that Ukita encountered Subject N's body. Natsuhiko then arrived at the memory right before Ukita had been infected with Subject N's malice. Be careful, Hikarin. N's just up ahead. Yeah, I got it. I'll be careful this time to make sure she doesn't corrode me like she did back when I encountered her in Watase's memory. Natsuhiko pulled himself together and looked into Ukita's memories. This one began where Ukita saw Subject N's dead body. I knew it. This is where Mr. Ukita was infected with malice. But something felt off. It was too quiet. Confused, Natsuhiko looked around, only to find that Ukita was the only one there. Ooh, interesting. Huh? But weren't the others with him at the time? No, that wasn't all that was odd. Natsuhiko had looked around of his own accord, which meant this isn't Mr. Ukita's memory. It's just like with Watase. A voice then filled the air. It would appear that you have realized that this is no ordinary memory, no? Natsuhiko gasped and watched in surprise as Subject N's body got up, slowly stood up. Subject N! No, that is incorrect. I am not Subject N. On the other hand, nor am I Keiji Ukita proper. She was talking much differently than the spirit of Subject N that Natsuhiko had encountered in Watase's head. So it's going to be a different aspect of her each time, probably influenced by the person she's inhabiting. Much like how that spirit's speech and personality had been strongly influenced by Watase, this one had most likely been influenced by Ukita. Natsuhiko talked back to her as he thought that. Then what are you, malice incarnate? No, to get right to the point, I am BC particles. What? Subject N jeered at Natsuhiko. Are you familiar with the informational field theory? Huh? No, I'm not. You are a disgrace to your mother. The informational field theory began as a hypothesis proposed by your mother, Dr. Miyoko Tenkawa, 16 years ago. Now that she mentioned it, he had seen a book about that in the reference room when his mind was linked with Watase's. An introduction to the informational field theory. Forward. In modern physics, all phenomena that shape the natural world can be explained with 4 fundamental forces. But there are phenomena such as the accelerating universe and so on that cannot be explained by these 4 fundamental forces alone. It has become clear from recent high-precision observation that the rate in which the universe expands accelerates with time. It is from that survey that the theory of an unknown energy known as dark energy, repulsive gravity, was born. But if dark energy supposedly does exist, then what is it? Various conjectures have been conceived, but they are all merely speculation. Thus, I continued to look into that force from the perspective of an elementary particle physicist and formulated a hypothesis. Could it be information? If a 5th fundamental force does indeed exist, there is a high possibility that it is, in fact, information. I used a numerical formula to express the equivalence of information, volume, and energy. Then, after deriving its value, I discovered that said value completely matched up with the rate of universal expansion. In other words... Wait, but what does my mom's thesis have to do with you? It would appear the apple fell far from the tree. You can use your mother's thesis to explain my existence. Just as the introduction said, information is essentially energy. And that information energy is spread using BC particles as an intermediary. Even if you are incapable of BC, this process is constantly occurring. Right in the middle of something that everyone possesses. What's something? The girl tapped her head when Natsuhiko asked that. The brain. BC particles cover the whole globe. Naturally, that includes people's brains as well. And the impressions and sensations that result from people's mental activities are constantly converted from the electrical signals in their brains into BC particles and are thus preserved through them. In other words, there are BC particles lying around in Ukita's brain that reflect his mental activities. Subject N then transferred her own thought information into Keiji Ukita's brain. When she did, the BC particles that carried her thought information mixed with the BC particles that were in Keiji Ukita's brain to begin with. Those 2 groups of BC particles interacted, becoming a new distinct group of BC particles that stayed in his brain. I am those particles. So basically, you were born from the blending of Mr. Ukita and Subject N's spirits? Spirits? Ha! I never imagined Dr. Tenkawa's very son would believe in something so occult. Well, if that's how you want to interpret it, then go ahead. That's not the important matter at hand anyway. What is important, that I most certainly exist here. Exist? Yeah, you exist, all right. Natsuhiko glared at her and spoke in a clear voice. Mr. Ukita suddenly going nuts is proof of that. No matter how much logic you pile in front of me, I have only one opinion. And that is that I will bring Mr. Ukita back to normal. Those thoughts won't change, whether you're a spirit or BC particles or whatnot. Oh? Then are you saying you'll erase my existence? He did that before. You can indeed eradicate me just by wishing for me to vanish. In the end, I'm nothing more than a vague, bodiless entity. So even if you erase me, it will not weigh upon your conscience in the slightest. Is that not what you were thinking? Like hell it won't weigh on my conscience. But I have to do it. After all, that's what Mr. Ukita wants as well. That's what he wants, you say? Isn't that obvious? At his core, Mr. Ukita is a man of justice. So, does your ignorance know no bounds? You're basing that delusion on your own imperfect understanding of him, boy. She glared at Natsuhiko. Just what is it that you know of the man known as Keiji Ukita? You have only obtained incomplete information regarding him, the surface of his memories, and his motive for committing the act of terrorism. That's all. Yet you claim to know what it is he desires? How presumptuous can you be? Well, I imagine he doesn't want you doing a ride-along in his brain, making him nuts. Do you understand now? In the end, even sense sympathy is nothing more than incomplete communication. Humans can never reach a mutual understanding, no matter how much they talk, touch, or use BC on each other. They just try to understand each other by looking at fragments of information about each other. But by being in Ukita's brain, I have become one with him and seen his entire life from birth to this very moment. I am the only one who can claim to understand him. The only way to truly understand another is to become one with them. That's why I gave Ukita just what he wanted. What he wanted? Take this, for example. The scene in front of them changed the moment Subject N said that. It was the memory of when Ukita had pointed a gun to Watase. Go ahead and laugh. I know it's fragile justice, but it's my choice. If killing you means it'll put an end to all of this, then I'll do what I must. If I don't, Captain Kasasagi will kill both Subject Y2 and Natsuhiko. I'll protect everyone. Then my life will finally have meaning. Even if it means staining my hands in sin for the first and last time in my life. You've sinned more than just this once, Ukita. I'm sure I said that the first time I heard that line from you, but still. Well, is that or is that not his very own desire? You say that Ukita changed because I'm in his brain? Preposterous. I just gave him a little nudge, that's all. Both Ukita and I wish to punish the wicked and protect the weak. That is why we feel Captain Kasasagi must be punished. You've done nothing more than make a fuss just because the way Ukita was acting earlier was a little different from the Ukita that you know. Now then, let me ask you again. Does Ukita himself truly desire my erasure? Natsuhiko couldn't help but fall silent. Don't listen to her. She was just as formidable of an enemy as the Subject N in Watase's head, but in a totally different way. Natsuhiko could feel his fighting spirit whittle away, even though he hadn't been corroded by malice. Is it really okay to erase her? Aren't I just butting my nose into Mr. Ukita's business where it isn't needed? He's trying to kill everyone, Natsuhiko! As he started to think that, he heard Yuri's voice. Hikari, no, you mustn't let her logic get the better of you. It's terrible logic! Even if Mr. Ukita's desire is to judge the wicked, he would still never punish Captain Kasasagi. Because that's something the real Mr. Ukita never even considered. He ceased to be himself from the moment his spirit blended with N's. So you have to bring Mr. Ukita back to his true self. Natsuhiko felt his nigh-depleted fighting spirit revive at Yuri's words. Composure began returning to his confused mind. It was then that he noticed the contradictions in Subject N's reasoning. You almost had me, Subject N. Whatever do you mean? Mr. Ukita's true desire wasn't just to punish the wicked, it was also to never kill anyone. There's no way you could have overlooked that, could you? Subject N suddenly laughed at that comment. Splendid insight. It would appear that you are not as stupid as I assumed. No, he's pretty dumb, N. He fell for your line, hook, line, and sinker. He needed somebody else to point it out to him. Of course not. Maybe I can't understand Mr. Ukita in the slightest. But in spite of that, I looked through his memories that whole time with the intention to understand him. Though either way, it's still an incomplete understanding. A look of resignation rose to her face. She then sighed and looked at Natsuhiko. Is she going to tell him to just end it? But it truly is a shame. Just a bit more and it would have corroded into you. Huh? You didn't notice? I had already begun to worm my way into your mind from the moment I started listening to your opinion. Though I failed, thanks to that unexpected fly getting in my way. Just one more step, you and I would have become one. Then you and Ukita could have killed Captain Kasasagi together. Those words sent shivers down Natsuhiko's spine. You really are malice incarnate. You only just realized that? Isn't that why you came to erase me? Yes, you're right. Natsuhiko looked back at her and spoke. I'm sorry, but it's about time for you to go now. You're right. I'll stop putting up any fruitless resistance. Oh, but could you promise me something before you erase me? What? Ukita is not aware of my existence, so at the very least I'd like for you to remember that I was here. That I was more than malice incarnate. That I was a being with a mind. I used my malice to try to grant Ukita's wishes and to worm my way into you. That was all out of my own will. You see what I'm getting at? Even someone who possesses no body nor brain like me does indeed exist. Cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Then in that case, what is the core, that is, the mind that is aware of those thoughts? Is it the mental activities occurring in the brain? Can a mind only exist in the presence of a brain? No. I mean, you exist in the presence of a brain, and, like, you're in his brain. One sec. A mind is an accumulation of information. You cannot use the presence or absence of a brain as a basis to determine whether or not something possesses a mind. That applies even if I am nothing more than a gathering of information energy spread by elementary particles. Even if I were digital data recorded into a medium, I still have a mind. My life lasted for only a few hours, but I most certainly did exist. Excuse me. I can disappear in peace, as long as you swear never to forget that. Yeah, I won't forget you, Subject N. She smiled happily when she heard Natsuhiko tell her that. Thank you, Special Observation Target NA2. That was the name of the one Ukita had tried to protect. From the bottom of her heart, the girl understood Ukita's lonely sense of justice. Natsuhiko looked towards her with respect, and then wiped her from existence as he erased her. Enemy, enemy, and enemy. Natsuhiko and Yuri returned to reality and saved. Natsuhiko and Yuri returned to reality. Ukita was still unconscious. Watase looked at Natsuhiko and Yuri from the side. You guys done? Yeah. How long did we take? Well, only about 5 minutes, give or take. From an objective perspective, the entire affair only took a small amount of time. Within that time, Natsuhiko and Yuri had their second encounter with Subject N and erased her once again. And suddenly, pain ran through Natsuhiko's head. He held his head and leaned against the wall. What's wrong, Hikarin? He's using his powers too much. My head. What? Are you okay, Natsuhiko? Ugh. The headache felt like the one he had when he arrived at Labo this morning. But it was subtly different. A bizarre discomfort shook his brain alongside the pain. Is she working on him and hitching a ride, and Yuri just hasn't been able to stop it? And his 5 senses hazed over as well. What the hell? It's like molten lava's pouring into my head. Lava in your head? It can't be. The after effects of contact with N? Natsuhiko gasped at Yuri's suggestion. That was very possible, come to think of it. When Subject N came in contact with people, she instantly destroyed their personalities, turning them into almost completely different people. Coming in contact with her brought the risk of her corroding into you. The truth of the matter was that Subject N inside of Watase and the Subject N inside of Ukita both tried to corrode into Natsuhiko. Natsuhiko shook off her malice and erased her both times. But coming in contact with her multiple times in a row could be a lot more dangerous than I thought, couldn't it? So she is a mind virus, after all. Just, you need to try to read the mind of somebody who's infected in order to be infected. So we come back to the fact that she's so insanely dangerous that Labo should have just killed her. Like, come on. You weren't doing any research on her. You were just locking her in a room and containing her. And everyone she comes into contact with who isn't protected from psychic powers gets their mind infected. And then if anyone reads the mind of an infected person, they get infected too. Like, and then the psychics that get infected can then infect other people. So she is she's almost as dangerous as I first thought she was. She can't spread on her own from non-psychic targets, but any psychic she infects becomes an infection vector and can infect everyone around them that they interact with. They should have just killed her. Like, it sucks, but she really was too dangerous to leave alive. But think of it, Lore, for a good few years before the mind virus wiped out humanity, we made a lot of money for the Japanese government. Ain't that how it goes? So yeah, like, it sucks, but I'm of the opinion that Labo should have just killed her once they realized what she'd become. There's no world in which leaving her alive doesn't lead to disaster or her own suffering. Like, they had her tied up and contained and mind blanked with suffering, with no hope of her becoming happy unless she left and started infecting people. There's no world in which leaving her alive leads to a good outcome. It sucks, but they should have just killed her. But coming in contact with her multiple times in a row could be a lot more dangerous than I thought, couldn't it? In such a short span of time, Natsuhiko had fought twice with an opponent who was trying to corrupt him. which turned out to be even more of a mental and psychological burden on him than he had expected. Watase and Yuri looked at Natsuhiko's face with concern. "Hikarin, are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." "No, you're not." Natsuhiko forced a smile as he answered. "More importantly, are you okay, Yuri?" "Yeah, she didn't do shit. She didn't come in contact with N." "I think I'm okay. It wasn't as if I was directly connected to Mr. Ukita's mind, after all. Anne only came in contact with me indirectly through you, so her influence was minimal, I guess." "I see. That's good, then." It appeared that Natsuhiko served as a sort of padding for her. At any rate, as long as Yuri was okay, Natsuhiko was fine with that. And with that thought in mind, he shook his head and slapped his cheeks. His senses soon came back to him. He still had a headache, but it had faded considerably. "Yeah, looks like I can keep going. No problem." "Well, you're only halfway done, Natsuhiko." "No problem. Are you sure you're okay, Natsuhiko? You're as pale as a ghost, you know." "Some of the others have to be infected with malice, too. Are you sure you can keep up with the erasure?" "Yeah, I can. Keep them coming." "Swap off with Yuri. She's clearly as powerful as you are, Natsuhiko. And she's got more experience and sense using this power." "Yeah, I can. Keep them coming." Natsuhiko gave a strange display of bravado. At any rate, this was not the time to give up, because if Natsuhiko couldn't do it, then Yuri would have to be his replacement. More importantly, we need to make sure if Mr. Ukita's malice has disappeared or not. I think we're probably good, but better safe than sorry. "Yeah, that's true. Guess I'll try to wake him up." "Old man! Wake up, old man!" Kicks him in the ribs. After a few slaps on the cheek, Ukita finally groaned. Ugh. Good, he's awake. "Captain Kasasagi?" Ukita looked around with vacant eyes. "Mr. Ukita, are you okay? How do you feel? I mean, do you feel like malice has disappeared from within your mind or anything?" Natsuhiko's probably scared of Yuri continuing her constant self-sacrificing streak if he can't show he can pull the weight. That's a fair point, actually. Huh? Natsuhiko and Yuri are here too. And that's Mashiro over there. What in the world? Ukita's eyes widened. From the looks of it, Subject N's malice had faded from him. Natsuhiko sighed in relief and answered his questions. "It's a long story, but..." Natsuhiko summarized the situation Ukita had been put into. How Subject N had used the ability known as sense of sympathy on Ukita to manipulate his memories and amplify his malice. And how Natsuhiko and Yuri were also sense of sympathy users, and were thus the only ones who could cancel out that malice. Once he finished hearing Natsuhiko's explanation, Ukita muttered with a bitter look on his face. "So in other words, my personality was overwritten with BC? I think that's an appropriate way to put it." "I see. So it's an ability far more powerful than we had imagined." Ukita spoke regretfully, and then looked at Watase with a gasp. "Then does that mean the same happened to Captain Kasasagi?" "Yeah, well, something like that. After Subject N amplified my malice, I shot at the kids. So Natsuhiko erased all of my memories in self-defense. He then finally restored my memories for me just a little bit ago, you see." "I see." Ukita muttered that with a complicated look on his face. "Who else do you suppose is still infected with malice?" "I'd say the most likely candidates are June and Miss Tachibana." "Wait a second, what about Salu? That girl came at me with an axe, you know?" Natsuhiko thought for a second. Salu may have had a slightly eccentric personality, but would she go so far as to take such drastic measures? possibility that Salu's infected with malice isn't completely out of the question. But did she... Okay, when was the last time Natsuhiko saw Salu? Okay. Hang on. So, I don't think Salu ran into N while she was still alive. But it's possible. Yeah, Kazumi is Kazumi Tachibana. The people who were freaking out and trying to kill Watase were Ukita, Jun, and Kazumi. So they're clearly infected with malice. But I think Salu was probably just perceiving that she had to defend Natsuhiko against Watase. And that's why she attacked him. The possibility that Salu's infected with malice isn't completely out of the question. To be honest, he was frightened by the thought. Salu already had a dangerous side to her. If she were infected with malice, her actions would become truly unpredictable. In that case, who's the most dangerous of them all? That would be Moribe, wouldn't it? Huh? Why would June be? To be honest, about 2 hours ago, I attacked her from behind and stole the bullets from her. You what? Why would you do such a thing? Well, I thought I'd need a weapon if I wanted to oppose Captain Kasasagi, and I had the gun, so... It's very possible that she's bearing a grudge against me now. Now Natsuhiko understood the reason June's head was bleeding, and why she was wandering around with that engine cutter in hand. Oh, to make matters worse, that same gun got snatched by Teach. By Professor Tsubakiyama. Teach was the one who had that gun to begin with. We split it up into 3 parts, but I guess it all got back into Teach's hands in the end. Okay, this game has several times stomped on my interesting theories and given me something more mundane as the actual answer. If it turns out that Enna really was just summoned to Labo and she's not a spy or whatever, I will be very disappointed, but I'd only be a little surprised. We split it up into 3 parts, but I guess it all got back into Teach's hands in the end. Those words made Natsuhiko uncomfortable. Hold on a second, Watase. About that gun Professor Tsubakiyama had. Was that one of the guns you guys prepared? No, it wasn't. The guns me, Dojima, and Hiyama had were NZ-75s, 3 in total. But the gun Teach had seems to be a different gun. What? Then where did that gun come from? There shouldn't have been any guns in Labo, other than the 3 that Watase's comrades had brought in. And yet, Enna had a gun, which meant... That's most likely Teach's personal gun. She was probably lying about finding it in Labo. Natsuhiko was aghast. Why would an ordinary high school teacher like Enna have her own gun? If she was neither a terrorist nor with Labo, then... Who in the world is Professor Tsubakiyama? Where in the world is Professor Tsubakiyama? Once Natsuhiko said that, Yori's eyes widened as if she had figured something out. Maybe she's actually with Security Sector 6. Ah, okay. Security Sector 6? Yuri nodded as Natsuhiko and Watase tilted their heads in puzzlement. They're a secret section of the Rokame City Security Department in charge of cover-ups. As Labo's pawns, they do a variety of dirty work. They perform cover-ups of Labo-related affairs, including communicator abduction, among other things. And she's perfectly positioned as a high school teacher to spot powerful communicator children to abduct, of course. But then, why is she trying to spy on Labo if she's one of Labo's lackeys? That's a thing? You saw it in my memory too, didn't you? Remember how after the fire 9 years ago, those people forced their way into the hospital and tried to take me away to Labo? That was Security Sector 6. Now that she mentioned it, that name had shown up in Ukita's memory too. Furthermore, Natsuhiko remembered hearing rumors of them back in his childhood. Rokume City's 7 Wonders, number 6. Monstrified people are captured by a secret task force working under Rokume City's security department and are imprisoned underground. Those rumors were true? Now we finally felt that all of the 7 Wonders had a hidden meaning behind them. Could those have been no mere urban legends, but rather something someone had intentionally tried to spread? Was it a way to disguise the sinister truth as a simple child's gag? Or was it a conspiracy someone had tried to leak to the public? As Natsuhiko pondered that question, Ukita spoke up. Indeed, I've heard of them before. Or I guess I should say, it's only a matter of course that they exist. Such underhanded forces only come naturally with such a high-interest facility and organization as this one. Normally, you would commission an organization or enterprise to fulfill that role, but in Labo's case, the city itself goes through the lengths to provide such services. This all sounds like a bad joke. One sec, gotta burp. Well, it's not just Labo whose ethics are broken. The Rokume City government's in cahoots with them too, after all. Natsuhiko ground his teeth as he heard that. Up until now, he'd loved the town he was born and raised in. That didn't change even when Enna had told him about the truth of the world and how Rokume City was a fortress built to protect communicators from that world. He had thought that the security department and the surveillance cameras were all to protect the townspeople. But even the city's an enemy too, isn't it? Both Labo and the city government were working in cahoots to create this abnormal world, weren't they? Perhaps his dabbling in Watase's and Ukita's memories had intensified that bitter feeling of his. Natsuhiko suddenly remembered the time he was in front of the city gate with Salu. Kind of an off-putting place. You think so? It almost gives the impression that the whole city is locked down. Her words were on the mark. Ever since he got stuck in Labo, Natsuhiko had wanted to get out. But outside of that bird cage was just a bigger prison. Rokume City itself. So Professor Tsubakiyama's teaching job was just a temporary front, and she's actually part of the Rokume City Security Department? Is she working to ensure we don't escape? There's no conclusive evidence of that, but if she works for the city government, slipping undercover as a Rokume Academy teacher should be no problem at all. And then she'd be able to put the students under close surveillance to see if any of the communicators demonstrate sense of sympathy. Indeed, it wouldn't be strange at all if someone were to have that role. But even if she had an undercover role, she still normally worked as a teacher, you know? So why would she come to Labo today? I don't know that much. Well, you told her about the thing. You told her about the terrorist attack, Natsuhiko. I don't know that much. Perhaps she had a hunch about the terrorist information, or perhaps it was just a coincidence. In any case, now that she's here, she might be working to help cover everything up. Thinking along those lines, there were several things that came to mind. Like how she had closed her heart to the kids, and how she recommended they turn themselves in to the security department when the kids were running away from them. If Professor Tsubakiyama is with the security department, then that means when she heard about the terrorist plot from us, she must have gotten on guard and concluded they'd come to Labo. Eventually, Watase broke his silence with a sigh and spoke up. So the point is, we should assume everyone's dangerous, regardless of if they're infected with malice or not. Yeah, but nevertheless, everyone needs to be brought here. In that case, who should we take care of next? Probably Kazumi. Upon hearing that question, Natsuhiko quickly thought of Salu. Since she had been acting independently this entire time, she most likely had less information to work with than everyone else. She could get dragged into a fight without understanding any of the circumstances and get hurt. Watase, can you bring Salu here? Salu, huh? I know I've said this before, but that girl hates my guts. I don't think this will end well, but I guess I've got no choice. Watase muttered in disgust, perhaps because he himself was fully aware of why Salu would hate him. Okay, then I'll go look for Salu for now. Mr. Ukita, stay here and protect the kids. What? Me? Protect them? But... I know. That's why I'm leaving you with this. He's leaving the gun? Well, I guess he doesn't want to shoot Salu. Watase took the gun out of his pocket and handed it to Ukita. This is my gun. It's low on bullets, but at least it has a magazine. Use this if absolutely necessary, but don't aim to hit. Use it as a threat only. Okay. Ukita nervously took the gun. Okay, then I'll be going. As Watase said that and began to leave, Natsuhiko called out to him. Hold up, Watase. Are you sure you'll be fine without a gun? Don't worry, I've got these guns right here. Watase, now is not the time. Watase slapped his right bicep and smiled boldly. I don't see him smiling. I see, but still, be careful out there. Yeah. And with that answer, Watase left the shelter. Does he now have access to the martial arts? Did he not have access to the martial arts while he was amnesiac? Alright. I have to pee. So I'm going to take my break a few minutes early. I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. All right, back. Once Watase left, the shelter went quiet. After a few silent moments, Natsuhiko spoke to Ukita. Mr. Ukita, I'm sorry. For what? I've read your memory without permission. That's like a major invasion of privacy, so I'm really sorry. Oh, has that been bothering you? I don't particularly mind. It was a necessary step to cancel out Subject N's malice, wasn't it? Yeah, but I saw basically all of your memory pertaining to your motive behind carrying out this terrorist attack. Did you have a flashback of your past memories back there? Those are the memories I saw. I see, but I'm sure there weren't any memories in there that would have been problematic for you to have seen. So honestly, it's nothing to concern yourself about. Rather, I feel you helped me reaffirm my convictions. I had the opportunity to recall in such vivid detail the day I swore to fight against Labo, after all. In the process of following your memories, I experienced that day vicariously too. I think you're a brave man, Mr. Ukita. A look of regret suddenly spread across Ukita's face when Natsuhiko said that. I appreciate the sentiment, but the compliment itself isn't very uplifting when the result of my bravery turned out like this. Huh? Naturally, I remember all of the actions I took when I was infected with malice. In hindsight, they were all illogical actions, but still. The me during the time my malice was amplified still certainly felt like me. As Ukita muttered that, he looked at the gun in his hands. I shot at Captain Kasasagi with this gun, as if to push all the blame of the plan's failure onto him. The realization of just how small and cowardly I am was truly frightening. Natsuhiko understood the meaning behind Ukita's words. No matter how good a person may be, perhaps not a single one is completely free from malice. And those who came into contact with Subject N came to know their true selves, whether they wanted to or not. They all came to realize the monster they harbored in the depths of their minds. I never wanted to admit that part of me existed, you see. I intended to muster up all my courage and goodwill, but not only did I fail to accomplish my goals, I also ended up producing the worst possible results. Mr. Ukita, that's just... Natsuhiko tried to say something, but he couldn't find the words. Ukita shook his head as if to say, excuse me, it's fine, and continued. That's how I've always been. No matter how much I act in accordance with my beliefs, it always turns out for the worse. I drag so many people into my mess, and in the end, I can never save anyone. And look at what I've gotten everyone into now. I guess with justice as fragile as mine, I should never have acted on it, should I? Not true. Natsuhiko pondered those words. Mr. Ukita's methods were, indeed, flawed in some places. It wasn't as if Ukita had acted in accordance with a perfect sense of justice. There should have been another way. But Yuri did not judge him. But Mr. Ukita, it's because of your desire to save us that Hikarin and I were finally able to see each other. Even if you were mistaken, it's all because you persisted in acting in accordance with your beliefs. So, well, I'm not sure if it will be any consolation to you for me to say this, but thank you. Once Ukita heard her words of gratitude, he smiled faintly. No, that's a real lifesaver. I tried to save you, but you saved me from myself. The situation's all sorts of backwards. I guess you're right. Yuri smiled at those words. Natsuhiko smiled as well, and then turned to his thoughts. Mr. Ukita's probably okay now. He had a strong sense of justice to begin with, after all. Now that Ukita was free from malice and regretted his actions, he would probably be a reassuring ally to them now. Excuse me. Something went down the wrong passage. But still, I feel like the more I know about Labo, the more I understand your feelings, Mr. Ukita. Is that so? Yes. The more you learn about the inner mechanisms of Labo, the more wicked it seems, doesn't it? I understand why you'd want to expose it, Mr. Ukita, and why you'd want to punish the upper ranks too. Indeed, Labo holds too many secrets. It's only natural since they conduct such shady business, but that's not the end of their problems. I've come to believe that it's for that reason that the antagonism between communicators and ordinary people persists in this world. The antagonism, huh? BC research is indeed necessary, and there are certain truths that should remain hidden, but hide too many secrets, and I doubt you'd be able... Excuse me. And I doubt you'll be able to earn the understanding of those around you. To the insufficiently informed masses of ordinary people, BC and communicators are nothing more than unintelligible concepts. Yeah, that's true. Those words reminded Natsuhiko of what he had once heard from Enna. That outside of Rokame City, disputes between communicators and ordinary people had yet to die down. The thought made Natsuhiko depressed. Mr. Ukita, will there ever come a time in society where communicators and ordinary people can come to terms with each other? That's what the research in Labo was really meant to accomplish, wasn't it? Naturally, that's what I believe in, but that's not what the high-ranking officials at Labo think. The reason we devote ourselves to BC research is ostensibly for the benefit of public order and to prevent societal insecurity, but the real motivation is, in short, money. Money? Indeed, Labo conducts world-leading BC research and sells their results to various countries. Beetlejuice New Treatments. You see, there's this foreign company called Beetlejuice New Treatments that's a patron of Labo and Rokame City. The three of them are co-conspirators in a money-making scheme. Introducing this 70 hours in, at the end of the game. We haven't heard that name before, right? The name of the company, Beetlejuice New Treatments. If that weren't the case, Labo wouldn't even dare conduct research on confined test subjects. If it were really for the sake of public order, they could just simply confine them, maybe even let them live a peaceful life on an uninhabited island. But they don't. They use them for human experimentation. That said, the masterminds behind it all wouldn't just lay their true intentions out on the table, would they? Excuse me, that makes me sick. Indeed, that's why it's actually more favorable for them to aggravate the antagonism between communicators and ordinary people. So, just then, Yuri interrupted Ukita before he could continue. No, Mr. Ukita. In the past, there were people who indeed conducted research for the sake of public order. Huh? For example, there's AD. AD's formal name is Alone Desire. In other words, a drug for those who desire solitude. A drug to reject BC, the power to connect people. Natsuhiko gasped. True enough, with continued dosage of AD, a communicator would be no different from an ordinary person. Or, used the other way around, an ordinary person could come in contact with communicators without fear. If AD became widespread, then communicators would no longer be seen to be as special as they are today. I've heard that was the reason for the development of the drug. You say that, but I worked my way up in Labo all the way to junior fellow status, yet I've never heard that AD was developed for that purpose at all. I can imagine. AD has apparently been continuously in development ever since Labo was established. What I believe happened is that over the course of several years, Labo's ethics shed little by little until the original purpose of AD was forgotten. I'm not exactly sure what was on the developer's mind when they gave AD its name at the start of its development, but don't you think they put their feelings into the name, regardless of what those feelings were? I think that's a little overly sentimental, but I'm honestly with Ukita on that one. Ukita didn't completely reject Yori's line of thought. Natsuhiko likewise just barely agreed. But are there any other examples besides that? There are. The fact of the matter is that the WX particle amplifier itself is one. Really? How? The amplifier? What part of that thing's supposed to bridge the gap between communicators and ordinary people? Oh! Ah! Oh, that made my voice sound weird. Okay, so the WX particle amplifier, if Yuri's correct, would be used possibly as an experiment to try to give non-communicators BC, or just to make it more effective for communicators to interact with people psychically. Yuri calmly replied, Hikarin, do you understand exactly what the WX particle amplifier is? It amplifies the energy content of BC particles. The energy content of BC particles rises when a communicator uses BC, remember? The information energy created inside their brain is emitted outside. Which, in other words, means... Natsuhiko gasped in surprise. No way. BC particles have the property of transmitting and propagating the information energy of living creatures' thoughts. In which case, amplifying their energy meant... You see, there is a kind of artificial brain inside of that machine. Really? Yuri calmly made that statement. Oh, is that where brain cell is? An artificial brain? Is such a thing even possible with modern technology? Creating an entire brain from scratch would indeed be difficult, so a more fitting way to describe it would be a device that mimics the BC receptor alone, an artificial BC receptor. A BC receptor, the organ relating to BC usage located in the prefrontal cortex of the human brain. God. The character designers of this game were so horny. Or, well, not even that. It's... The character designers of this game... The way they designed the female characters in this game are not horny designs. As far as, like, they were not designed because the character designers were horny. They were designed to capitalize on horny anime fans. Natsuhiko had heard about it once in one of Enna's lectures. Is that true? Unmistakably. After all, we test subjects had always cooperated in the research and development of that machine. What? That machine was constructed 14 years ago, when Labo was established. It was built based off of the data obtained from the first test subject, Subject A, and improved based on the data obtained from the other test subjects. Miss A passed away before I came to Labo, and Anne and I never had the opportunity to meet face to face, thank God. But that machine is constructed from the data we produced, the BC we used. Its foundation was built from parts of our very minds. And what was made was a machine that only generates powerful information energy, without a will, without a spirit. The generation of WX particles is, so to speak, the transmission of BC without any sort of message imbued within. All that exists within is a vague feeling. That feeling is the primal objective of the ability known as BC, the desire to connect people. Is that what it was? Natsuhiko noticed that what Yuri said was the answer to a question he hadn't even considered up until then. Why would an environment full of WX particles increase the efficiency of BC use? The answer was that WX particles themselves were filled with the desire to connect people. That's anthropomorphizing elementary particles. Come on. But you know, WX particle energy is too strong. They cause damage when they enter the human brain. They also affect the genes, causing mutations. Excuse me. The desire that WX particles have is to connect people, even if it causes pain, even if it recreates their bodies. So the cases where WX particle exposure caused aptitude to rise were because of that? Yes, though the number of people who can withstand that change is exceedingly small. But this effect definitely has the most potential to bridge the gap between communicators and ordinary people. After all, though it's compatible with only a very select few people, that machine is still able to create acquired communicators. The WX particle amplifier has the opposite use of AD. It's a machine that can turn ordinary people into communicators. I knew it as soon as you started talking about it. Perhaps someday, everyone on Earth could become a communicator through use of that machine. And thus, the disputes between communicators and normal people will come to an end. Apparently, some people on Labo thought that way. But do you think that's really a good thing? Say, Hikarin, I believe that a society like that would be extremely unnatural. That maybe we should all try to understand each other without relying on this power of ours. Yeah, I think so too. Because BC is a terrifying power, where one wrong use could spell disaster for society. If at all possible, it would be better for people to come to a mutual understanding without relying on that power. The same went for Natsuhiko and Watase. Erasing Watase's memory would return him to just the man he once was, one that would probably not conflict with Natsuhiko's intentions. But that would not amount to true understanding with Watase at all. People change with just the slightest distortion of memory. Going so far as to erase their memory would be the same as killing their mind. And that was something Natsuhiko wanted to avoid. So I'll believe that Watase will change his mind even if I don't erase his memories. That in time, he'll abandon Q's mission and release Yuri. Even if that was just wishful thinking, Natsuhiko still wagered on that hope. I'm not sure, Natsuhiko. And as Natsuhiko pondered to himself, Yuri sadly murmured. But in any case, Hikarin, for some reason or another, we've acquired an ability that's more than we can handle, haven't we? In some ways, maybe it's only natural for normal people to fear us. Yeah, maybe we'd have been better off not acquiring such power unfitting of our stature. But if there is some sort of meaning in us getting this power, then I'd at least like to use it correctly. Despite his answer, Natsuhiko still did not fully understand. What was the meaning behind him getting that power? What exactly was the correct way to use BC? But at the very least, freeing everyone from malice like this is probably the correct thing to do. As soon as Natsuhiko had that thought, a sound rang out from outside the door. We're not going to see Watase capture Salu? Or maybe this isn't them. Natsuhiko and the others gasped and turned around. Who's there? Watase? No answer. But they could hear a sound like someone pounding on the wall outside. Which of them is it? Did Miss Tachibana or someone else realize the existence of the shelter? Wait, but even if that's the case, nobody but us should know the password. Even in the off chance that someone remembered the keypad on the wall and repaired it, they wouldn't be able to come in. The kids were relieved at Ukita's statement, but immediately afterwards, the screeching sound of metal cutting metal echoed from the other side of the door. Yup, it's June! Uh-oh! Uh-oh. Meanwhile, Watase was in the surveillance room. Okay, well first I'm going to save. Oh boy. This game's all over the place, man. Like, a lot of it's good, and a lot of it's not. But, like, the times at which it chooses to impart background and world-building information are all over the place. And there are absolutely some things that should have been established, like, 20 hours ago. Excuse me. Also, I think what I was getting at with the comment about the horniness of the character designs is that it feels like a kind of soulless horniness. It's just designed to get horny nerds interested in the game rather than any kind of interest in making a sexy character on the part of the character designers. Especially with the art style being, I don't want to say generic anime, but it's kind of generic anime. It's not bad art, but it doesn't really stand out. Yeah, like, the way I'll put it is this. The character designers didn't want to fuck Enna. They wanted other people to want to fuck Enna. And June, and Kazumi, and Yuri. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm just thinking about the game. Meanwhile, Watase was in the surveillance room, attempting to fix the broken PA. If he could get it working, they could call together everyone who had been infected by malice. In theory, at least. But you don't want to take them all on at once. It's been about an hour since they announced that the place was switching to backup power. That means the speakers are still online, but the PA can't handle facility-wide broadcasts anymore. Ah, then you could target them. That means there's a good chance one of the PA system circuits located near the surveillance room has been severed. He searched the area under that assumption, discovering a burned-off cable in the wall of the room that had been hit by the backdraft earlier. This is it. If I can just connect this and electrocute myself. A thought crossed Watase's mind as he did repairs on it. We're getting closer and closer to escape, but what are Natsuhiko's thoughts on all this? Natsuhiko had clearly stated his opposition to the deal Watase had made with Yuri, but agreed to cooperate for the time being. But what move would he take once they got out of here? He can probably erase my memories with just a thought. So when this is all over, will he erase my memories again? That suspicion crept its way into Watase's heart. Watase had looked into communicators the best he could, but their true power was far greater than anything Watase had imagined. There were people out there who could dive into people's minds and manipulate their memories as they saw fit. There was nothing that frightened Watase more than that. Such people frightened him so much, he didn't find it that much of a stretch to label them monsters. But even though they're not monsters, it's only natural for them to do that kind of stuff. I'd probably do the same thing as Natsuhiko if I were in his shoes. Of course, Watase could have just hidden his intention to take Yuri to Q once everything was over. Then he would have kept his true thoughts a secret, worked himself to the bone to save everyone, gained Natsuhiko and Yuri's trust, and then betrayed them. Then, once they escaped, he would have knocked Natsuhiko unconscious and taken Yuri away by force. But Watase never wanted to play foul like that. It just wasn't in him. Then what do I want? Am I saying that I wanted to make things a bit more fair for Natsuhiko? Why am I trying to act like a goody two-shoes now of all times? I'm supposed to be nothing more than a terrorist. But before he could finish that thought, he finished fixing the cable. Watase pushed his thoughts aside and dashed back to the surveillance room. Well, I've got nothing to lose by trying. He flipped the on switch for the PA's mic as he thought that. He then tried talking into it. Testing, and was met with the sound of his voice coming out of the speaker in the ceiling above him at the same time. Well, that's poor design. If this is the room where you operate the PA system, why would you get the feedback from broadcasting what you're broadcasting straight into the microphone? Yes, I did it. It's working. Watase celebrated, then prepared to try calling for Salu first. But at that moment, he noticed someone being displayed on one of the room's several monitors. Isn't that Moribe? The image was coming from the camera located in B1 of Area 5's outer ring. Said camera was busted, so the footage was of poor quality, but he could still barely make out June. She was holding her engine cutter and pushing it against the wall. Oh, crap! Did she notice the secret room? Destroying the shelter's opening mechanism had backfired on them. Anyone would get suspicious when something that hadn't been damaged before was suddenly destroyed the next time they saw it. Moribe hates the old man. He's in danger. Watase rushed out of the surveillance room with that thought. That door should still hold for a while, even against the engine cutter. I just have to get to the shelter before she breaks through it. Watase continued his mad dash for Area 5. But he soon came to a halt as he found one of the others. Oh, Enna. He could see a shadow standing in his way, though it was too dim to tell who it was. The shadow stared at him and spoke. Where are you going, Captain Kasasagi? Enna then pointed a gun at Watase. Dun, dun, dun! Okay, so we're almost at this month's time. We're almost at this month's 10 hours. And I think that's a dramatic place to start the next stream. Close to the chapter end, probably 25 minutes. Oh, okay. Cool. We'll keep going then. What? Huh, what? What? The metal cutting sound kept echoing beyond the iron door. But eventually, it abruptly stopped. What was that? Natsuhiko looked at the iron door with a bad feeling in his gut. It was supposedly sturdy enough to withstand fires and explosions. And yet, there was no lock. Yuri, Mr. Ukita, is there no way to make sure that door can't open? No. Why would an emergency shelter even have a lock on the inside? Then let's pin down that door with some... But before Natsuhiko could finish... Uh-oh. The door opened with a heavy thud. So there really was a hidden room here, huh? And the one who stood in the doorway was none other than June. She looked around the shelter and spoke up as soon as she spotted Ukita. Mr. Ukita, you slip out of my sight for a second, and I find you in a place like... Wait. Natsuhiko? Yori? And even Mashiro too? Why are you all here? Well, that's... When June focused her eyes on him, Natsuhiko found himself at a loss for words. June's eyes picked up on Natsuhiko's and Mashiro's wounds, and then she gritted her teeth. Mr. Ukita, you bastard! You weren't satisfied just attacking me, so you laid your hands on the kids too? Ukita's body froze up with a twitch. Natsuhiko panicked and put himself between them. Hold on a second, June. Why are you stopping me? This old fart whacked me on the head, you know? And look at you kids. You're all covered in wounds. He's the one who shot you, isn't he? No, you're wrong. Mr. Ukita's not at fault. So, please stop. June stared at Natsuhiko and Yuri in confusion. Alright, pop into her head, Natsuhiko. Quick! Why are you two stopping me? You're acting strange, guys. Why would you cover for a criminal? Oh, and now she wants to kill you! Look, you've got it all wrong. Mr. Ukita was, well, being manipulated. Like I'd buy such a bullshit. June suddenly stopped speaking. A look of realization then crossed her face. Oh, now I get it. You kids are in cahoots with the old man, aren't you? What brings you to that conclusion? That's it, isn't it? Yuri disappeared in the middle of things, and you and Mashiro were nowhere to be found, no matter how much we searched and searched. You kids teamed up with Mr. Ukita and tried to kill everyone. When you take the remaining stock of AD into consideration, there's no way for all 9 of us trapped here to survive. So you guys plotted to kill 3 of us off to save yourselves. It all fits when you think of it that way, doesn't it? There was nothing strange about June's tone of voice. She sounded completely rational. But the actual content of her words was completely devoid of reason. June! I never expected the June I knew would become like this. He shuddered in renewed fear of Subject N's power. June's maddened eyes glared at the kids as she spoke. You guys were the ones who killed Dojima and Hiyama and stole all the AD too, weren't you? The AD theft was probably Enna, come to think of it. Why in the world would you do such a thing? Why? They were genuine rescue workers who lived for the sake of saving people's lives. So why did you have to go and kill them? Genuine's an interesting word of choice there. June readied the engine cutter. Ukita pointed the gun at her and threatened to shoot. Stop! Don't get any closer! June froze and let out a snort of disbelief. What's with the tough guy act, huh? Could that thing be filled with the bullets you snatched from me? No, it's a different gun. One that actually has a magazine this time. Lay a hand on those kids and I'll shoot. I see how it is. Well, there's a whole lot of things I'd like to say, but... Go ahead. Make my day. I'm seriously going to shoot. Oh, nope, she's called your bluff. Excuse me. You don't have the guts to do it. Your actions lack the confidence. What? If you were going to kill me, then you should have just gone and done it when you snatched the bullets. What are you saying? You think I could have done that? It's because you lacked true conviction that you left me alive, wasn't it? This is a hell of a conversation from June Moribe. Guess in the end you're just a weak, half-assed man who can't even commit to good or evil. Shut up! Right as Ukita screamed those words, a gunshot rang out. Teach, put the gun down. Watase called out to her in a subdued voice. He had to get back to the shelter as soon as possible. He couldn't have Enna holding him up. She kept her gun trained on him and answered. I can't do that. Mr. Ukita told me that you're a terrorist. You're not denying it? I can't. It's the truth, after all. I've been plotting an attack on Labo for a year now. I remembered that after I got all my memories back. Then are you really a rescue worker? Yeah, I am. Hilarious, isn't it? I was partaking in a terrorist plot while working to save lives. It's not funny. Not at all. A lonely smile then formed on Enna's face. I was hoping that Mr. Ukita was lying. I figured you couldn't be a terrorist. I thought you were a true rescue worker who risked his life to save others. The Captain Kasasagi I knew well was a man who would run through contaminated zones and poisonous gas to save others. Why did you do all this? Why terrorism? Watase's heart ached at that question. He didn't have long to talk. However, he felt that he had to tell her the truth in order to get her to lower her gun. You see, I lost my family in a fire 16 years ago. Huh? Back then, I just felt sad, but it wasn't until many years later that I learned the truth. Teach, did you know that fire was caused by a single communicator? But the ones behind Rokome City and Labo covered all that up. There were very few who knew that truth. The only ones who did were Q, the affected individuals, and the Rokome City government. Enna listened to him all the way through, then quietly answered. I knew. I see. So she really is with Rokome City Security Department. Watase continued as he thought that. I couldn't stand the idea that those who deserved to be punished had avoided their judgment. It made me sick to think the ones who were secretly behind that incident were living cozily without taking responsibility for their actions. That was my entire motive for assaulting Labo and trying to abduct the test subjects, to bring the truth to light. Enna bitterly gritted her teeth. Watase couldn't tell what that look on her face meant. She then barely managed to squeeze her next words out. Then that girl lying by the lift, she was a test subject too, wasn't she? Were you the one who shot her? No. It was either Dojima or Hiyama, my comrades. You're blaming this on the dead? No, that's not it. Had things played out even slightly differently, I might have ended up being the one who shot her instead. Huh? Dojima, Hiyama, and I were not in the right mind. Since you know about the truth of the fire 16 years ago, I'm guessing you know about how people were infected by Communicator A's malice too. Well, something just like that is happening all over again in this facility right now. No way. Then are you telling me Mr. Ukita and Miss Moribe were also infected with malice? It seemed Enna had figured out everything from that one sentence, as expected of someone working for the government in the shadows. Watase nodded and continued. I was infected with malice too. It took the hatred for communicators that I'd sealed away in my heart and amplified it to the limit. And as a result, I shot Mashiro Toba and Natsuhiko as well. No. I'm sorry, Teach. I'm not a rescue worker anymore. I'm just a terrorist. But you don't look like you're infected with malice. Yeah, explain, Watase. Right you are. You can thank Natsuhiko and Yuri for that. They're the ones who set me free from that malice. And so I... Huh? And his eyes widened. What did you just say? Well, you see, they repaired my memories using sense sympathy and set me free from the malice. Wait, what are you talking about? That's news to me. Repairing memories with sense sympathy? Setting someone free from malice? Are you telling me Mr. Tenkawa and Miss Yuri can do all that? What? Watase was astonished. What's going on? Shouldn't members of the security department know all about Natsuhiko and Yuri? Are Labo and the security department not on the same page? No, that can't be. They'd never screw up like that. Wait, then in that case... Just who in the world is Teach? Good question. Watase was about to ask her for more details. But at that moment, he heard a sound behind him. It's Kazumi! All right. Enna, Kazumi, fight it out while I go rescue the kids. He turned around in surprise and saw, it's Salu, and saw Salu running at him from the other end of the hallway. By the time he noticed her, it was too late. Salu's jump kick nailed Watase right in the chin. Thoughts raced through Watase's head as he fell to the floor. Why does this girl always have to show up at the worst possible times? Though he felt close to fainting, he could still make out Salu's and Enna's voices. Enna, what are you doing with that gun? Are you trying to shoot this man? Then just shoot him already. What are you even saying, Miss Sanamiya? He could hear their voices growing louder. But his concussion rendered him unable to put any strength in his hands or feet, meaning he couldn't get up. This man shot Natsuhiko. He also tried to blow up the nuclear reactor and destroy the city. Vicious crimes not easily forgiven. What do you plan to do to Captain Kasasagi? Kill him. Kill him? Root double horror game where Salou is the Mr. X equivalent? That would be incredible. I don't really want to kill him either, but I have to do it to protect everyone. No, don't do it, Miss Sanamiya. Why are you stopping me? Why? You're acting strange. You're still with this man, even after I warned you. You won't open your heart to us. Furthermore, you're holding a gun. She doesn't know it's not a nuclear reactor. She's still behind, yeah. Could it be that you're a terrorist too? What? If that's the case, then I won't show you any mercy either. Watase could hear Salou walking towards Enna. It was then that his body finally moved. He stretched out his hands and swung them around Salou's leg. Salou gasped at the same time Watase shouted, "Teach, get out of here! Could it be one of Area 5's inner ring?" Huh? Huh? Natsuhiko, Yuri, Mashiro, and Old Man Ukita are all there. But there's a high chance they're being attacked by Moribe because of the malice she's been infected with. Please, save them for me. A look of hesitation rose to Enna's face for a moment when she heard Watase's pleas. You sure about that? You don't even know what I really am. You sure you can trust someone who could be infected with malice? Those words triggered Watase's memory. He remembered how Enna had stood up for him back when Jun and Ukita had been pressing him hard in the surveillance room. You trusted me back then. That's why I trust you. Those words softened Enna's face. You really are too soft for your own good, you know that? She then started running down the hallway. Salou shook off Watase's grip at the same time. Out of my way. She kicked Watase in the head. Watase mustered all his willpower to keep his fading consciousness tethered. Back at the shelter, Ukita and Jun were staring each other down. Problem, Mr. Ukita? Jun stepped up with that provocative line. Ukita had shot several rounds, but they had all lodged into the ground by Jun's feet. Looks like you can't hit me, huh? All you're doing is threatening me. You ain't gonna stop me like that, you know? Whatever, just stop, or I'll shoot you for real this time. Ukita trained his aim on Jun, but her feet did not stop. Natsuhiko reached the end of his rope and called out to her. Jun, please, stop! Huh? Didn't you say you wanted to be a hero of justice? What kind of hero kills people? No worries. I ain't gonna kill you guys. Just gonna lop off an arm or a leg or two so you can't move, that's all. You won't be a rescue worker anymore if you do that, Jun. Natsuhiko. You know, Mr. Ukita struck me on the back of the head and snatched the bullets from me. He stole them so he could kill people. So you see, he's an attempted murderer. He wasn't himself at the time. He doesn't have thoughts like that anymore. How the hell can you say that? How the hell do you suggest an attempted murderer could ever reform? Listen, it's too late to act once someone's been killed. The dead are never coming back. It's not like I want to do this either, damn it, but if the alternative is to regret the loss of another victim, I'd rather take this guy down myself, even if his blood on my hands means I'll never work with Sirius again. Jun raised the engine cutter up high and sprung at Ukita. Stop! The moment Yuri's cry rang out, someone plunged into the room through the door. Freeze! Shouting that command was Enna, with the gun in her hand trained on Jun. Professor? Why the hell are you here? Captain Kasasagi told me about it. He said a deranged woman was here, about to attack people. So, what's this supposed to mean? I couldn't find you for the longest time, and now you're with the terrorists. Can it? Move and I'll shoot. This is your last warning. The surrounding air froze the moment that warning left Enna's lips. Killing intent oozed out of her entire body, condensed at her fingertip, and set itself upon the trigger. Ooh, that's an evocative line. You're gonna shoot me? You're nothing but a high school teacher. Oh, I'll shoot, because I'm not a teacher, see? You're not a teacher? I thought at least someone would have figured it out already, but... I'm a detective! Oh-ho! Excuse me. Alright. So how the fuck did you get in here, Enna, if you're a detective? Is that even the truth? How the hell did you get in? Okay. So she's not a spy. She's not conducting industrial espionage. She's not a member of the Rokome City Security Department. She's just a detective? Okay. Once again. Well, maybe this will be more interesting than any of those options. I'm a detective. What? Detective? All eyes widened at Enna's confession. Or rather, something like a detective, to be accurate. I belong to a group whose existence is unknown to the general public. But we conduct activities in accordance with the police. We're authorized to carry firearms, and we reserve the right to shoot to kill criminals when no other options are available. Huh, the hell's that? You think I'd buy such bullshit? You think it's bullshit? Try me. June sank into silence as if in defeat. Enna spoke more and more relentlessly. Put that engine cutter slowly on the ground. One suspicious move and you're dead. But June didn't relinquish the engine cutter. Enna whispered to Natsuhiko from the side. Mr. Tenkawa, listen up. She's on the other side! She's on the other side of June! How is she whispering to Natsuhiko across June without June hearing? I've got Miss Moribe pinned down, so use this opportunity to erase her malice. Natsuhiko's eyes widened. Okay. Now that is a dramatic place to end the stream and cliffhanger for the next one. Enna Tsubakiyama, ace ventriloquist detective. Boy, oh boy. So is she in the employ of the Rokame City Security Department? Is that who she's a detective for? Excuse me. No, she can't be. Because Watase called that out already. Who the fuck is she? And how the fuck did she get in here? How the fuck did Enna get into Labo if she's not part of the Rokame City Security Department? Huh. Well, questions to be answered next time. So that's where we're going to end for today. So I'll read my schedule and get off. If you give me 1 second. Tomorrow I will be starting the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative for a patron. Thursday And Friday, I have Persona 3 Reload on the schedule. They will probably be, one of those will probably instead be The Devil in Me, because I wasn't able to do it on Sunday. Saturday will, of course, be our weekly Final Fantasy XIV stream. 1 second. Let me pull up the start of the March schedule in the patron server. And Sunday will be Chained Echoes, and I don't have anything scheduled for Monday or Tuesday yet. So, oh wait, yeah, you said the 4th for patron date. So I guess on the 4th we'll be playing Tinykin, I guess. Probably finishing that game. And then on the 25th will be more Root Double, right? That's how you want to do it? But yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. And I will see you next time.